relationships. That's where some of the drama lay, at least in one instance.
Hold on. Before we go back into that, we're gonna have to take two. Because I just realized we were muted. Thanks, TNC Comedy. So, rewind all of that.
Oh, whoa! The entire thing.
Not well, just the intros, which right here. I am your host, Radicat. You can find me at Radicat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram and Blue Sky on as Radicat.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, @agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings. Take two.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
See, if you hadn't said that, I wouldn't have had to cut that out. But you can find this here podcast on the Cold Slow, the podcast network, CSPN.us.
Do it today.
And of course, you can find us on your podcast through a place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slow, the podcast network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Always unmute your mic, folks. Streamer 101, but that sometimes it seems to happen. All right, folks. Now, like I said, so now I'm doing it. We are going to get into the show proceedings with Daredevil Born Again, Season 1 or Season 4, Episode 7, which is called Art for Art's Sake.
Right. So I just mentioned as a way to introduce this episode. This episode contains several confrontations between people who are in romantic relationships and perceived romantic relationships. And that's key because that helps fuel, like, basically the big confrontation in this episode between, spoiler alert, one of the headline villains and, of course, the headliner of this show, Daredevil. And I'll hand it off to Roddy Cat for his analysis and review.
So, yeah. So I have seen rumblings out there that people were like, wait a minute, that one part of this was rushed a little bit, which I'm sitting here thinking, like, was it rushed, or is there something bigger going on here that people don't know about and maybe overreacting to? We don't know because, if what happened in this show is the end of that little thing, then I guess they'll have reason to believe that, but I don't think that is the case. The show in itself, was interesting enough. I think something I was going to say last week about last week's episode with Matt, in that he had gotten a lot careless in his normal dealings about using his abilities. And in this case here, it's not that is still the case here, but it does kind of feel like there was something he did in this one, which realistically, for understandable reasons, he kind of because of something that happened was a little too close to home. And so obviously, man's going to have some feelings about, or about what and how he does things and who's around, even though they were, despite.
Yeah. What I was going to say is to add to that, I think it's more along the lines of being careless in maintaining his secret and or dual identities.
Right.
And I think that's really where he was slipping just a touch. And, they obviously made that part of the story.
Right. So it was so that being said, the beginning of this episode was kind of amusing in the way that was like, oh, hey, what's going on with this? Oh, never mind. Let's change.
Yeah, let me cover that up real quick by changing the subject to take the words out of your mouth.
Right. To which the person that they were talking to, still, still had their, still had enough sense not to let it go in a different way. They didn't really push it, but they didn't also let it go just off of that. So because they are trained to not do that. So, but either way, that just kind of leads to like 87 said, kind of it doesn't necessarily lead to, but it does definitely end up going into a confrontation that ends up happening near the end of the thing, which I don't know. Like, it is what it is. And Fisk is still out there doing Fisk things, but also at the same time doing just like some real world idiots out there changing the narrative of the situations.
Of course, because he's got his own way of spinning the facts and concealing some of the actual truth of the matter. What I will say in this case is that there are some characters who are who obviously have Matt Murdock's well-being in mind,
right,
when they protest his actions and their kind of begrudging they're not accepting it, but they're begrudging acknowledgement that Matt has put the costume back on.
right.
So ultimately we're getting to, what was that, episode 7, right?
Yes, this is
so we have 2 more episodes, just 2 more episodes, in this first season, first cour, as it were, to borrow an anime term. But it's basically the first half of this season of Daredevil, and we will see how they develop this the story going into, I guess, the mid-season break, as it were, or the end of the first season. We'll see how they treat it going into it. I, for one, felt like it was a touch rushed, because I did not know that Muse was going to go out. To quote Cypress Hill, I didn't know he was going out like that. He ain't going out. I did not realize he was going to go out like that. My hope is that that's not the end of the story for Muse.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right, but we also are not sure of his super powered origin. We don't know if he's going to be maintaining the Inhuman part of the story, or if he's just got, gaping bullet holes in his body the entire time that we encounter him in season 2 or the other half of the season. So we'll see.
Right, and to be fair, from what I know of his Inhuman powers in the comic books, I don't think it would have stopped a bullet.
Right.
So,
right, but that doesn't mean they won't adapt something.
Sure.
We don't know. We just don't know.
They'll find some way to enhance it and to bring them back or something. We don't know any of this thing, but we'll see. Hey, on the surface, yes, it does definitely look like it's like, yeah, it was kind of a fast way to go. But like I said, there have been times in the past, especially with Marvel stuff, it's like, well, it'll come back in some sort of way, shape, or form, or directly. We don't know. We'll see. We shall see. But regardless, the one other thing I'll say before we move on is that definitely the other main character of the series that is not named Daredevil, kind of, from, if you read it a certain way, felt a certain way about them being back, and also kind of, I guess, touches back to a conversation that they had early in the season. But also kind of feels glad, or it looks to be feeling glad because, and this is just me, my read on it. It was like, okay, he's, if Daredevil is back like he claimed not to be, then one, it could be a chance to nail him to the wall, but also, now I can get back to doing how I do things, despite the position that they're in now. So, and some of that seems to be bearing true given what happened near the end of this episode.
Right. It seems like the goal might be, a little bit of payback, a little bit of revenge for all of the stuff that happened in the Netflix part of the series. So
Yeah,
we'll see if that pays off going forward.
Yep, indeed. So, with that, we're gonna move on because we don't want to spoil the thing.
Yes.
What's next?
Let's see. Actually, I forgot to put the cover up, but that's fine so we're gonna get to the books of the week, starting off with a new number 1 from your distinguished competition, and that is Absolute's Green Lantern number 1.
Absolute Green Lantern number 1 is published this week by DC Comics. It's written by Al Ewing with art and colors by Janoy Lindsay and letters by Lucas Gattoni. So if you did not know going into this Absolute Green Lantern, this is obviously a retelling just like every other Absolute book. It's a retelling, a reimagining, a new version of the origin of the lead character in this story. Part of that is making, or at least changing, the identity of who the lead Green Lantern is in this story. And, it may be spoiling it for some people, it may not be. If you've seen any of the news stories or read any of the solicitations, you can kind of guess that the Green Lantern the lead Green Lantern in this book is not who you expect it to be.
Right. Or if you look at the cover also, or
right.
any of the
right.
covers, I guess.
Right. That's the point. You know, like once you see that, there is a nice little twist to the story and how they deliver it. Al Ewing definitely throws a little bit of his trademark kind of Immortal Hulk take on this. There's a little bit of a horror tinge to this story, and Janoy Lindsay does a good job of telling this story through a lot of the dramatic art and a lot of the layouts here in this issue. So it's definitely a good start for this book.
Yeah. My interest in this book, having not caught up with most of the other Absolute books, was partially because of Al Ewing's writing this, and the stuff that we had previously talked about with who's going to be who's pretty much going to be lead of the book. It is, I do love certain aspects of this because you kind of because there's still some questions up in the air even after you're reading this issue of how did X, Y, and Z happened, but the
they're still pulling it in. It's only the first issue.
Correct. So that is a thing that will bring folks back next issue, or for the next couple of issues specifically, I guess. Once they blur that out, but then again, it's Al Ewing. He could be playing with this particular case. He's not. I don't think he's going to be doing like an Immortal Hulk and playing a long con or some things because most people who know the origin story of Green Lantern know a specific versions, of that, and this definitely turns a few of that, a couple of that. On
much like the rest of the Absolute titles.
Right.
So remember, this is Ultimate. Absolute Green Lantern. So bottom line is, there's generally going to be a very big twist to the original origin story of the kind of the mainstay lead character. Right. Not I can't say the original lead character, but the mainstay lead character.
Right. Although, there is definitely, for the Prime Universe DC, there is definitely seems to be a big change for the original Green Lantern. Well, so, okay, this is a side point. So, Alan Scott, he's technically the original Green Lantern, even though his powers and whatever is a little different. So, we're talking Hal Jordan here. But people, most of the people would be like, Hal Jordan's the original XYZ. So
right, not the people who watch Justice League the animated series or the Unlimited. So
there is also that, yes. But hey, that person also shows up in this, which is interesting. I did like that fact that they all knew each other. Like,
right, they came up with a twist on their kind of jointly told origin.
right.
So it's fun. If Green Lantern is your thing, jump on, because I trust Al Ewing to tell a good story.
Exactly.
So I think this is going to be a good read. I definitely like, this book maybe a little bit more than the Superman book, but it's only the first issue, but I definitely would say it's probably close to being on par with the Wonder Woman and the Batman book in terms of just like kind of throwing just enough curveballs into the origin to make it like a nice twist on things.
And Agent 70 has been more on top of the Absolute / Ultimate books, DC books than I have, or at least until upcoming. But you still had not read Absolute Flash or Martian Manhunter yet, have you?
No, I started the Absolute Martian Manhunter. I did not finish it this week, and the Flash is next. It's just I'm behind on those, just a touch.
Gotcha. Well, and luckily both of those just started, so it's not you don't have much to catch up on. So cool. That's his Absolute Green Lantern. Like I said, if you're watching the video version, you can see the cover right there. Looking forward to seeing more of the book. But we're going to move on to our next book that we have in common, which is Concert of Champions #1.
What a fluke book to have in common this week. Concert of Champions #1 is written by Jason Liu, with art by Rafael Loureiro and Ruairi Coleman, colors by Yen Nitro and Fair C. Fuentes Sujo, and letters by VC's Ariana Mar. So the conceit behind this is that the big pop stars, the current pop stars who are active in the Marvel Universe, get together to throw like a joint concert that's being streamed live online, and they bring in Lila Cheney to join them. So you have three kind of established musical acts in the Marvel Universe. The first being Dazzler, the second being Luna Snow, right, who's getting a lot of shine, especially after her appearance in Rivals. A lot of people know her or have been exposed to her through that, but if they had missed out on like Agents of Atlas or the latest Doom Division / Tiger Division,
right,
then they can catch her on the comic page. And now they've got Lila Cheney to boot, who was who played music with Dazzler way back when. It's kind of cool to see them getting together, and they even throw in a Spider Person to boot.
Yes, I thought that was a nice little thing, because we know there is a Spider Person that has musical talent that has been bopping around in the 616 lately.
Right, it's not Miles. Sorry to say.
Nah, well, he has his own musical talents, surely, but yeah, probably not in the same. Definitely not in the same way as this one does. But yeah, I do love the fact that was a thing. It was like, and then ends up being something at the end of this. But yeah, as Agent 70 said, they're putting together this I guess it's supposed to be like a Coachella-esque or one of those type musical festivals,
right?
That they put together, but of course, as what tends to happen in the superhero world, there are some folks that happen to come through to want to use it for nefarious means. It weirdly enough kind of felt like the River Bottom Nightmare Band, even though that's a slightly different situation. If you remember your Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, which you have to be of a certain you have to be of a certain vintage for that, as Agent 70 would say. So,
right. I kind of like the random grouping of characters who made up. So basically, the gist of it is that a renegade group when I say a group, a musical group, a band, a renegade music band crashes the party with their own music setup, but they have nefarious goals, more like demonic goals. That's a mild spoiler. And it's just kind of a mishmash of characters who kind of make sense in the who make sense having been put into these particular roles.
Right.
So, they even call out who they are. And I really got a kick out of this. One of the main plot points of this issue, it seems to be a one shot, a standalone story, is carryover from the previous or most recent Dazzler miniseries.
Right.
And we're basically picking up some of the story from that and dealing with some of the fallout from that miniseries. So it's kind of a continuation of that story.
Interesting choice of words when Agent 70 says fallout. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah, I didn't mean that, but yeah, it is.
But there is a direct tie to that word to something in this book. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Which is why some of it kind of felt like it's definitely a one shot. Well, not definitely, but it doesn't feel like a one shot. Put it that way. As you're reading, it definitely does have an end, and there's another book that's kind of like that happens this week, as I told Agent 7 before the show. But I assume some parts of that is going to come back up someplace else, because this kind of really felt like, okay, well, this could have been another Dazzler tour that, and with the three of them, and other things happen, and not just this supposedly one and done thing that's going on now. Like, maybe it will show up someplace else, so we don't know, but not necessarily as the main part of the story. But it doesn't seem that way also. So it's kind of weird in that sense, in that respect. But still a pretty decent read. So, check it out, especially if you've checked out that previous Dazzler miniseries, which you probably should if you want to read this, because while everything in that is it is directly coming from that, but there's only a small part of it that comes from that. That will, if you read a certain part, that'll find you scratching your head if you hadn't read it, put it that way. And even if you had, like we did, like there's a part of us like, wait, when did this happen? Situation, but you can also kind of make a logic leap from, well, sure, after all of that, and everything that's been going on, that's a thing that could happen.
Sure, and definitely dealing with some of the characters' backstory, especially how the character was written in the books that she was not like the lead character in. I definitely recognize aspects of this character's run in Uncanny X-Men,
right,
and the way she was written. So I definitely saw that.
And I guess that Executioner's book that was from a few years back, if we throw that in there too. So, but yeah, that is concert. I was about to say Contest of Champions, but you get me something with Of Champions with me for me, and I'm kind of almost on board. But I've also, was looking forward to seeing more stuff after that last Dazzler miniseries. So it's a fun read. Possibly a potential Kliq of the week. We'll see. But the last book that we have in common is, and I snuck this in on Agent 70 as he was going to get something to drink, West Coast Avengers number 6.
West Coast Avengers number 6 is written by Jerry Duggan, with art by Ton Lima, colors by Arthur Hesley, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So I needed to catch up on what was happening in West Coast Avengers, because in West Coast Avengers number 5, one of the team members takes a sabbatical from the team, from being an active team member. So that team member is not around for what happens in this issue. In this issue, we have some, of course there's going to be some Blue Bolt shenanigans, because Blue Bolt does something that calls attention to himself and calls attention to his, let's say, his personal brand. And the main story in this issue deals with kind of the big brother little brother interplay between the main Avengers team and this West Coast Avengers team, and their inherent distrust of anything Ultron. And if you've been keeping up with the West Coast Avengers, there is an Ultron. I don't even want to say one Ultron. There's an Ultron on this West Coast Avengers team, and I'll let Roddy Cat illuminate that more.
Right. So, yes, last issue we found out, and slightly part of this issue, we found out why Tony and Rhodey decided to want to recruit an Ultron for the team, mostly last issue. But that doesn't sit well with the main Avengers team. But also, the West Coast Avengers have been dealing with some other Ultron-related issues because there are some other Ultrons floating around, but they're not really doing technically bad things. But there's some cultist behavior going on with these other Ultrons that that is not being looked well upon from some folks for a good reason. That includes the West Coast Avengers, but also the man. So I keep wanting to call them the East Coast, but technically they're not even the East Coast anymore because they're in space.
Right.
But I still want to call them that. Regardless, as things tend to happen in situations, there is a meeting of the teams, and let's just say, as there was a Civil War reference brought up in this issue, that ends up escalating into something, escalating small time anyway, into something similar, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is kind of funny, the whole Blue Bolt situation, and what he thought of himself when he went up against a certain other team, Avengers team member that got shut down real quick. And just the whole thing in general, It also brings up a question because, as far as I know, Rhodey and Carol had a thing, probably still does have a thing. But that's because it hasn't been addressed in quite a while, and this issue didn't do anything to really change that much. But it brought it up because of the fact it was like, well, I knew they had a thing going on at some point, and is that still a thing or not? That's aside, small potatoes in the bigger thing, because I know a lot of people don't even care. But regardless, that's just things I think about. Regardless,
it's just a little bit of story maintenance, I would say, or continuity maintenance.
Right.
Here, I think that's what that particular interlude served to pay service to. It was in service to.
Sure, but didn't seem to do it that well. But that also could be me believing that. So but also it's never really been that deep, because it's like, yeah, it comes up, but they might have been slightly deeper on that once or twice, and that was probably in Captain Marvel's book,
right?
And so which she does not have right now, a current solo title. So regardless, West Coast Adventures still a fun read. I guess this was one shape or form, something like this was going to happen. If not for this, then probably for something else. And if you're watching the video version, you can see the Civil War evocative cover as well.
Right. The Gia Russo Marvel Handbook cover that you had up just a few minutes ago is really cool.
Yes. Oh, yes. And there will be a couple of more of those that will come up in this week's books, because those have been starting to roll out. For people watching the video version, there's the cover that Agent 7 is talking about. So good stuff. Yeah, you always gets us with the old Hot Move book covers. But that, folks, is it for the books that we have in common. Rapid fire.
All righty. Rapid fire review time, folks.
I ain't got time to bleed.
right, leading off is a book from last week, Batman number 158. This was published last week on March 26th, 2025. This is Hush 2, Chapter 1. It's written by Jeff Loeb with pencils by Jim Lee, inks by Scott Williams, colors by Alex Sinclair, and letters by Richard Starkings. I honestly don't care for the Hush storyline overall, but I'm a big fan of Jim Lee's pencils. And I can say that Jim Lee's, kind of back to where he was when he last penciled something regularly, when he last provided interiors. I will say, though, that I have one little, slightly more than a nitpick, which is there are a couple of panels that just look so stiff. And it's always been my feeling that Jim Lee's always been a little stiff when it comes to depicting what Batman is doing, because he draws Batman as like this, super muscular guy. He's not as fluid and it's not as dynamic as it could be. But that's just me. That's a personal thing. Some people may disagree with me. Some people may agree. It's up for debate. But overall, it's a good start for the series. I pulled it. I have a physical copy for myself.
Next, can he draw feet though?
He can draw feet. Can draw feet. That's Roddy Cat taking shots at Rob Liefeld because he deserves them, right? Mm-hmm. So Rob Liefeld. There you go, catching shots. Catching strays in the rapid fire section. Next up is Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell, number 1. It's written by both Charles Soule and Steve McNiven. They're the creators behind the story. The dialogue is written, that is, by Charles Soule. The art is by Steve McNiven. And the letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. Now, this is a clear candidate for Click of the Week for me, for a couple of reasons. One, we get to see an older. This is basically like old man Daredevil, right? So we get to see, kind of a near apocalyptic future for Daredevil, relatively near. One of my favorite tropes, and we've seen this in another kind of near apocalyptic future, at least recently, is the Aliens versus Avengers book, because it seems like it's a trope that they use Captain America to provide a stirring moment that does not end well, right? And without me spoiling either one of them, I leave that for our good listeners and viewers to go enjoy when they read this book. But yeah, that was like a great moment for me, because I always love seeing Cap, do cool things in these guest spots, and this is definitely pulled off really well. So Daredevil Cold Day in Hell number 1 is definitely a candidate for Click of the Week for me. Another candidate is Immortal Thor number 22. It's written by Al Ewing with art by Jan Basil Dua, colors by Matt Hollingsworth, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. So we get Thor, Scourge the Executioner, and friends, because there's a surprise godling or a demigod who makes a return appearance in this issue, and together they are making their way through to, no surprise, the center of a maze. And we all know in certain mythologies what lays at the center of a maze, and that should be no surprise if you're even passingly familiar with mythologies. Next up is Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 32. Surprise, I read this. It's written by Cody Ziegler with art by Marco Renna, colors by Brian Valenza, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. Now, it's important to have actually read the previous issue, because there are a couple of events that affect how you read this issue that happened in the previous issue. So this may not be the most new reader friendly book right now, right at this moment in issue number 32, but it's worth picking up because apparently there's some there's some influence of a particular uh, a particular group or a particular god of a different mythology who is basically a part of Miles's life. And what happens when there's a god who introduces themselves into Miles's life? Other gods get into the game, and in this issue we have Thor and Hercules guest starring and providing some godly heroic support to Miles because he's taking on folks who are, let's just say, slightly out of his weight class. And next up for me is Moon, Girl, and Devil Dinosaur, 10th Anniversary Special number 1. The first story is written by Brandon Montclair with art by Natasha Bustos, colors by Luis Guerrero, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. The second story is written by Justina Ireland with art by Luca Claretti, colors by Andrew Dahlhaus, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. Surprise, surprise, this is actually a candidate for Click of the Week for me. That first story is great. It involves Lunella Lafayette, a bunch of guest stars from the Marvel Universe, and of course, a green alien. If I'd say any more, it'll spoil the story, but it turns out to be a pretty heartwarming one. And, it does play itself off as an actual anniversary issue, an actual birthday issue that that's definitely part of the story being told here. And it's very effective, and it's pretty heartwarming. Next up is Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu number 7. So this is actually definitely carrying forward the story as the Midnight Mission looks to regroup and take the fight to the folks that they've basically been fighting over the last several issues, and they bring in some, let's just say, some backup, some superhero backup in a very interesting way because they have very complicated relationships, both Moon Knight and members of the Midnight Mission, with these particular heroes, and in specifics, this particular hero's I think it's the character's father. I'm not 100% sure. I kind of forget. But yeah, that's pretty much that it's an interesting way of going about this story. Last but not least is X-Men number 14. It's written by Jed McKay with pencils by Ryan Stegman, inks by Ryan Stegman and JP Mayer, colors by Marte Gracia, and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowell. So we actually circle all the way back. Now that X-Man Hunt is over, we circle all the way back to one of the stories that X-Men has been telling, which is of a character in this near their base from this Alaskan town that's kind of like on the basically the closest town to their base in Alaska, who at least to this point was not exhibiting mutant powers, but there is a big reveal here that something is not basically it's not what you think, right? There might be something going on with this character. So we'll see how that unfolds moving forward, and that's it for me.
Excuse me. All right, as we end on the ARAH connecting cover once again, we go into my books, which starts off with Please don't tell me I don't have this issue. Oh. Well, Salmon Biscuit. Hold please. I hate when this happens, and it's been happening a lot lately, and I don't appreciate it. I definitely need a better way to rectify this situation, because it's kind of annoying to edit. Yeah, that's what I thought. It didn't come up. Let's see. Sorry, folks. This is there we go.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's really not, because I gotta edit this shit later. There we go. Let's see. There we go. G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Silent Missions Edition, Beachhead, #1 one-shot is my first book. And the only thing I have to say about it is, you see what I did there? Silent missions. Anyway, so this is a thing that Skybound is going to be doing this month. Celebrating G.I. Joe Real American Hero, issue #21, which is the Silent Missions issue, which introduced Storm Shadow and the Arashikage, excuse me, and just was a popular book. I dare say, and actually, as I found out by the letters page, so that gives some insight as to how the original Silent Mission book came about. And of course, in the comic book world, it has to do with deadlines. So that was a bit of information that I did not know, but been doing this as long as we have, like, okay, that makes sense. But regardless, it is a Beachhead focused Silent Mission book, which is part Home Alone, part Die Hard, I will say. Pretty good. I don't think I gave the creative team, but is written and penciled by Phil Hester, inks by Travis Himo, and colors by Lee Leffridge. There are no letters because there's no words.
Ah.
So there you go, folks. But yeah, if you are a fan of that, the initial issue, the issue 21, the Snake Eyes centric one, and you're nostalgic for something similar to like this, buckle up, folks, because this month's going to have probably a good 4 or 5 of them. I think 4 at least. I thought it was 5 actually. And I believe also there was another reprint for issue 21 of G.I. Joe Real American Hero that may have also come out this week, or probably will come out sometime this month. So look out for that. Next up, we have, it's finally here, Star Trek Lore War #1. There we go. Written by Christopher Cantwell, Colin Kelly, and Jackson Lansing. Art by David Tinto. Colors by Lee Leffridge, and letters by Clayton Cowles, because this does have words. So, Star Trek and Star Trek Defiant both have been leading up to this next event, and it is now here. The most I will say about it, if you haven't been keeping up with this show and me talking about these books and what's going on here, as a matter of fact, I think I say it in my notes. I will put this, if you're a long-time comic book reader, this might mean something to you. Age of One Galaxy Under Lore. If that gives you any indication of what's going on here. So yeah, basically Lore has erased the galaxy and made it in his own image. Data is kind of helping him, but also maybe probably plotting against him some kind of way. You know, as tends to happen. You see a nice little galaxy map of how things are laid out at the beginning of this. And we also, if you've been keeping up with, I guess specifically the Star Trek ongoing book, we finally see parts of Cisco's plan get enacted. Because you sometimes you might wonder, I mean, you might have wondered, why is this person involved in this after the other event that happened, and why are they involved? Well, we find out here, basically. And it also, just like I said when I said Age of One Galaxy Under Lore, kind of goes off in a similar way. So, which was kind of amusing to me. But so yeah, you kind of get to what's going on in the world at large right now, and the shades of how it's going to get undone, you know. And yeah, buckle up, folks, because the next couple of issues of Star Trek in Defiance and whatnot are going to be all this event. Next up, though, Teen Titans Go #2. Oh, I'm sure there will be a nice little soundbite under there somewhere. But written by Matthew Cody, art by what? And pardon me for a second. I have to do some rewriting. But colors by Eric Owen and letters by Saida Timofonte. As I find out who did the art for this book, because apparently I must have been asleep when I wrote this in here. But regardless, so yeah, the Teen Titans, the Go version of Teen Titans, we got a book. Robin's grilling the Titans for a reason, and that reason is because Cyborg is going missing, and of course, when situations like that happens, everybody has a story about what actually happened. But we get to, oh, okay, so Eric Owen also did the art and the colors for this book, and the typo was a weird typo. Anyway, so yeah, but we find out what's really going on in this book, and in true Teen Titans Go fashion, it is for amusement. Next up, Birds of Prey #20 is my next book. Excuse me. Written by Kelly Thompson, art by Sammy Basri, inks by Vicente Cifuentes, and colors by Adriano Lucas. Colors by Clayton Cowles. You get some little tight tongue there. My apologies. Also getting late. So yeah, the birds are looking into a suicide linked to a robbery at a military black site. The bat shows up for a second and gives him his blessing before he goes off to do whatever bat things happen, go on, whatever the case may, in his 20 to 30 books that he has out. And just like within the last couple of issues, the birds are going into a trap, but they're going knowingly into said trap because they're trying to track down leads, and they have a bunch of
excuse me,
bless you. They have a bunch of leads they're tracking down, and it turns out that they're all actually traps. It's a trap. Exactly. And maybe leading back to a previous arc of this volume, as to who may or may not be behind it, but I guess we'll find out. One of the birds may have already fallen for the well, all of them have fallen for the trap, but one of them might be down for the count.
Excuse me.
So we shall see.
My mic. Sorry.
It's all right. Next book, Batgirl #6. I really should. There we go. Do something about this. Written by Tate Bromble, art by Takeshi Miyazawa, colors by Mike Spicer, and letters by Tom Napolitano. So, we still have this whole Cass and Lady Shiva thing. They've both been caught because Cass had gone to save her mom, which is Lady Shiva, and thanks to an assist of an escape, they are on, or they were on the run from who is after them. But we also find out why the folks who are after Lady Shiva and Cass by proxy are after them. And it seems that Cass has been given a mission. Lady Shiva has made a choice, and I don't know if this is after or before that Black Canary Best of the Best miniseries that I've been reading, that I think I talked about last week. But yeah, some things that went bad, quite possibly. And I guess we'll find out if that was the case in the next issue or 3. Next up, though, Justice League, the Atom Project number 4 of 6. That is the wrong one. Here we go. Written by Ryan Parrott and John Ridley. Art by Mike Perkins. Colors by Adriano Lucas. And letters by Wes Abbott. So the crux of the book is Captain Atom versus Major Force. Thanks to one General Eiling. You know, there's still some skips back and forth in the past about, you know, some things leading into this whole squabble and what is going on in the larger DC universe at large with people's misplaced powers, you know, and the Atom Project trying to put them back where they belong. But, you know, they have a situation that they have to deal with themselves, because the person that is apparently able to help them with said thing, that one Captain Atom, who has had a change of power set change, was on the run, but also, you know, sought out by a bunch of people. So, and that just kind of that is kind of the crux of that here. And at the end of this, in comes Inferno. So if you've been reading Justice League Unlimited, you probably know who they are, because this all kind of shows up into comes out of Justice League. Next book is Star Wars Hyperspace Stories: The Bad Batch Ghost Agents number 2 of 5. Written by Michael Morrissey, pencils by Reese Hannigan, inks by Elisabetta D'Amico, colors by Michael Ataya, and letters by Comic Crafts Tyler Smith and Jimmy Betancourt. So this is continuing the mission that the batch has been set upon, which is set back in the Clone Wars era, of them going to get the knock list. Because there's Republic of spies all over the place, and a list kind of got out, and now they have to they have to go get it. They're chasing after the thieves by way of hitting up a certain planet famous for a run, and a certain other syndicate that they folks have trouble with in the Star Wars universe, or at least one of them, but one in particular. Which leads to them ending up possibly meeting up with another Star Wars Clone Wars popular character that is a dark side user. They don't necessarily show their face here, but if you know enough about them and what they carry and their fighting style, you know it's them. And that's all I'll say about that. Next up, we have Ironheart, Bad Chemistry number 1, which I believe is a one-shot, but I'm not sure, because as with Consort of Champions, it kind of reads but doesn't actually read like one. It is written by John Jennings, with art by Jethro Morales, color artist Andrew Dahlhaus, and letters by VC's Ariana Maher. So apparently an item was stolen from a museum. One that if you're a Harry Potter fan, you might know something about, and or Full Metal Alchemist also shows up there. But it basically leads to a confrontation between Ironheart and I'm going to say a new villain named Kim, which is, in a way, actually heard their name, who has ties to who is in league with an Iron Man villain, and also has family who might have been another small time Iron Man villain. That part I'm not entirely sure of. And part of this is coming from a Free Comic Book Day story from a Marvel Voices Free Comic Book Day story from back in 2023, which is brought up here. Riri uses this quote, and I'm going to say it here for those of a certain vintage. You know where it comes from. You come straight out of a comic book. Now, if you know where that reference comes from, you know that Riri is way too young to know where that reference comes from. Now, granted, she could be, versed in cinema, whatever the case may be, but still, regardless. So we find out some more backstory on the villain and her relations to the other folks, and why she's trying to get do what she does against Riri and Chicago at large. So, and all of that comes out in this book. Like I said, it reads like a one shot, but it also doesn't feel like it's a one shot, because it feels like while it does have a definite the end at the end of it, feels like should be picked up someplace else, because it's not over after this is done. But we shall see if it actually does come up in it. Maybe Riri's going to get her own book again. We don't know. But folks, that is it for me. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
Do you have your potentials?
Yeah. I named them when I was going through my rapid fire books. They're basically Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell #1, Immortal Thor #22, and Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur 10th anniversary special.
And actually, now that he mentions that Immortal Thor, I did forget to pull up this cover, which was the Ohatmu-esque cover for that book. And you said Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, and that's that one. For me, I would say Star Trek Lore Wars, one of them. Absolute Green Lantern probably would be one of them, actually, as I'm giving it more thought. I did enjoy West Coast Avengers, but I always enjoy that, so that's not saying that much. That G.I. Joe Real American Hero Silent Mission edition Beachhead #1 is kind of up there, but I don't think it's gonna make the cut. So there's a few books we didn't get a chance to get to this week. That Bad Batch book was good, because it's just like, yeah, it's definitely the tone of the Bad Batch. So who the folks that the dude that wrote them, yeah, got the touches right. But I'm thinking, actually, do you have yours? Because I might need a second for this one.
Yeah. No, it's pretty clear. Even though I did have a couple of candidates, it's Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell #1.
Figured.
Definitely enjoyed that, and like I said, it's almost like a trope now where they throw a guest appearance by Cap into one of these like near apocalyptic storylines, near future apocalyptic storylines where they throw a pretty cool appearance for Captain America in, and it doesn't end well, but it's still really great.
I wish I had a chance to read that Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur book, but I will, because I was kind of hyped for that from what we read about it, and I didn't get a chance to.
It was fun.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all. But I think I'm going to go with You know what? Sure, why not? Absolute Green Lantern, #1. Surprisingly enough, but it was a good read. So like I said, it's there's more questions than answers, but of course that's what a good first issue does. So to kind of get you to come back.
And it's Al Ewing.
Exactly.
He's definitely writing like he's structuring this particular story. It's probably one of the better first issues of any of these Absolute titles.
Indeed, yeah. Like I said, I don't have the context that Agent 70 does in that, but yeah, I will at some point soon. And with that, folks, we are going to go into the news section, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Wink, your personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your tastes and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink wines through CSPN. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
I'm gonna get a cough button because whatever the hell is going on over there with Agent 70 is spreading with the sneezing,
right?
So
it's springtime. Not that we're immune to allergies, but the weather is obviously crazy at this time of the year. So,
true that.
It's just sometimes sneezing is contagious, even over microphones, like over long distances and the internet.
Indeed. Don't know how it happens, but it happens. But regardless, folks, we are going to get into the cinematic news as we do about this time with DC's Lanterns adds Jasmine Cephas Jones to cast in key role. That name may or may not sound familiar, as the daughter of Ron Cephas Jones, aka Bobby Fish from Luke Cage, or also what's his name in This Is Us? I don't remember. But regardless, or you may remember her name from a little thing called Hamilton, as she
right.
played,
That's where, the people who watched Hamilton on Disney Plus got to know her name there.
Yes,
because I didn't get to see her on Broadway, but I definitely knew that she originated a particular role.
Correct. So she is playing. Oh yeah. Also, I guess she was in Blind Spotting too, but I don't think I ever watched that. Let's see. It does have her name. Oh, so she is playing the role of young Bernadette, who is played in the present by Nicole Ari Parker. Not entirely sure who that character is, but it says here that Jones will play a key role in the show, as fans will get to see Bernadette's resilience and ability to keep the family going through the trials. I assume probably some relation to Jon Stewart. I'm going to assume, but I don't want to assume too much. Either way, but yes, she keeps her family going through trials that come their way. She's described as a perceptive, big picture thinker who, quote, also demands excellence from herself and her family. So there you go. Next up,
Nathan Fillion joins Lanterns DC series at HBO. Okay.
Sure.
We can kind of figure out why.
Oh, absolutely. you know, and it says
Yeah,
here,
no.
but you know, it makes sense. If you know anything about Nathan Fillion and the characters that he has played and I guess kind of continues to play,
Right, and is going to play in an upcoming movie on screen. So yeah, you
right,
kind of figure this one out, folks.
yeah, it makes sense. It makes total sense. Maybe a slightly older version of that character, but no, nevertheless, it makes total sense. So. Also worth noting that, as it says here, that yes, Fillion has also voiced Green Lantern, Hal Jordan Green Lantern, a few times in the DC animated universe. So, you know, tends to happen. So he's not new to the Green Lantern mythos, put it that way. Next up, Lantern's director teases the HBO show's tone and sci-fi magic. So, in an interview with Collider, James Hawes assured that there wouldn't be any shortage of, quote, sci-fi magic amid its Nebraska setting. Quote, it's done in a world where you accept these things, that these are things are just are, he says, of Lantern's fantastical elements. As someone without much superhero experience before this project, he said he was bewitched by his foray into this genre. Quote, you always find a scene or two that you think, I can't wait to be beside the camera and the cast directing the scene. You know this is something you have to take seriously, and that absolutely happens with Lanterns. So, you know. It is worth noting here that Hawes, let's see, it says that his episodes will hopefully be similar to his work on Slow Horses and Black Mirror. So if that gives you any indication of, you know, his pedigree, that does. One of those shows I've been trying to get into. The other ones I still hadn't seen yet. Next up, though.
So on the 66th anniversary of Supergirl's debut appearance, DC Studios co-chief James Gunn this past Monday shared a new look at the House of the Dragon star Millie Alcock from the set of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. The movie is currently shooting in the UK and will follow this summer's Superman, which is written and directed by Gunn as the second entry in the nascent DC movie universe.
Uh-oh. The heck? Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Stupid auto-playing videos. But yeah, you can see a picture of Miss Alcott looking at Tom King's Superman Woman of Tomorrow, and there you go. Next up, speaking of Superman, James Gunn releases the Superman CinemaCon sneak peek. Apparently, Crypto is front and center in the footage. Of course they are. And it was first shared in Las Vegas on this past Wednesday because CinemaCon has been going on for the past few days. And I believe this is the last day of CinemaCon. So we might still have some more news coming out next week about some stuff coming from it, but we'll see. So yeah, the new look at Superman follows a trailer release in December. And while this article doesn't have it here, I definitely saw that said sneak peek is out on YouTube.
Yeah, I saw it there.
Yeah. So, you know, if you haven't seen it yet, then you can go check it out there. Next up,
Warner Brothers has completed the worldwide sale of Coyote versus Acme. So this was previously shelved. Ketchup Entertainment today confirmed their completed deal for worldwide rights to the live-action / animated hybrid film that brings Looney Tunes character Wile E. Coyote to the big screen. Let's see. The film is expected to get a theatrical release in 2026.
I just love how in the image that is on the picture, which I know, you know, filming against animation is hard. Assuming that what is this dude's name? Will
Fortnite.
Will Fortnite. Yes. Is supposedly looking at Wile E. Coyote, but is looking over him in this picture. They might not actually be looking at them, but I know I've noticed some of that stuff in certain animated, live action animated movies or whatever the case may be, and it's always kind of funny to see. But will we get to see this movie? Who even knows? Sounds like we might, but who knows? Masters of the Universe behind the scenes reel at CinemaCon shows wavy blonde haired Nicholas Galazine as He-Man. So I don't know if there is a sneak peek of something that is publicly available. From what I've seen and from what another article that is going to probably rehash, there may not be. But hey, at least some folks get to see it. So at some point we'll see the whole thing, I guess. Next up, though.
All right, get some fun news here, but it also means that we have to deal with some delayed gratification. This week at CinemaCon 2025, Sony and Marvel announced that Spider-Man Brand New Day is the title of the highly anticipated sequel to No Way Home, and this was revealed this past Monday night at CinemaCon. And the anticipated release for this movie is July 31st, 2026. Unfortunately, we're going to have to delay the gratification for Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse for a little while longer. That was announced to swing into theaters on June 4th, 2027.
Yes. I feel like the Spider-Man 4 is a placeholder date. I feel like that date's going to change because that feels like a fiscal thing. There's like, just put it in the books right there and it'll change. That might not be the case, but last day of the month, I feel like that might change. I don't know anything, but hey,
the way it works is, it's probably going to be like the heart of the summer. Like it's not a July 4th weekend thing, but it's,
around
a little bit. Yeah, it's like the middle of the summer, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it could very well be the exact day and date, but like I said, we've seen dates change for these things when they have,
of course,
similar dates. So, the Beyond the Spider-Verse thing is definitely a heartbreaker, but rather have it get there, with quality than not at all, So, and I know it takes a lot for them to do that stuff. So hey, it'll be there when it gets there. I hate that I got this one, but hey, that's my fault. Iron Fist actor Finn Jones says, "Give me a effing chance to come back. I'm aware of the critics. I want to prove people wrong."
Nope.
Nicely done. Jones recently appeared at La Convey, I guess, anime convention in Mexico, and noted that there was a, quote, willingness for the fans to see his return as Iron Fist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel's Studios streaming and TV boss Brad Winderbaum stirred up buzz in February by telling Entertainment Weekly that the MCU was, quote, exploring bringing back Cox's fellow Netflix heroes, which would include Kristen Ritter's Jessica Jones, Mike Coulter's Luke Cage, and Jones's Iron Fist. So, again, the quote from Jones is, "I am very aware of the critics of my character and my role in it," Jones admitted. My response to that is like, give me a fucking chance, man. I'm here and I'm ready. I want to prove people wrong. So I would love to see that happy. And again,
oh, you're waiting for a sound drop?
yes.
Let me see. What would I say in addition to that? Let's see. We go with
Nope.
and then we also go with
Lies! Deceptions!
Look forward to
Jokes. Poorly.
Indeed.
We're just piling on at this point, folks. It's kind of unfair.
It is, but also perfectly right. Next.
Oh, wait, though. I've got one last one.
Yeah, not really.
Nice. Next up. Actually, let me go ahead and take this one.
Right.
Let me go
What's that?
Let me go ahead and take this one.
Go ahead to make up for the fact that you got the Finn Jones one.
Well, not just for that, but I feel like we can just go ahead and get it over. So this is more CinemaCon stuff. This is basically a recap of a lot of what happened or what was announced at CinemaCon. So we don't necessarily have to go through all of it because some of it we've already talked about. But in addition to what the stuff we have talked about, there was a John Wick animated prequel that is coming with Keanu Reeves involved, which I thought was an April Fool's thing because I saw that on April Fool's. Apparently John Wick 5 is also a go, which that's not that big of a surprise. And I'm keeping to the stuff that's kind of germane to Comic Book Chronicles, and definitely skipping the Minecraft movie, even though there are Minecraft comic books out there. We talked about the James Gunn Superman stuff. Oh yeah, there's a Legend of Zelda live action movie planned for March 2027. Apparently Sue Storm is pregnant in Fantastic Four First Steps. I guess they saw some footage there that would suggest that. Let's see, How to Train Your Dragon, another one. Is gonna have a live action remake. The next James Bond film is said to be, quote, a fresh, exotic new chapter. Scream 7, Sonic 4, and The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender coming 2026. There's another Avatar movie, The Blue People, also coming. Predator Badlands will have a Predator as one of the heroes. I think we might have had a previous story for that a while back in rumor. And first footage of Tron Ares shows a light cycle in the real world, which I would love to see that footage because I love me some Tron, and even though I don't like the fact that what's his face is attached to it, Jared Leto, I will probably watch another Tron film. That's just me. And that's it for that, folks. Next up.
Alrighty. John Boyega speaking out about his experience with fans of the Star Wars franchise. He's one of several actors who appear in the Black Leading Men in Hollywood episode of the new Apple TV Plus 2-part documentary, #1 on the call sheet. In speaking on reflecting on his breakthrough role as Finn in Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, back in 2015. My God, it's already been 2015. Yeah. Where is it? Hold on. I got, you know what I got to play here.
I'm a bit too old for this shit.
And it's 2 sequels, and the racist backlash he received after being cast in the franchise. Boyega said the space western saga, quote, always had the vibe of being in the most whitest elite space. It's a franchise that's so white that it's like a black person even existing in it was something.
Not wrong.
No, not at all. Not at all, because the fans, unfortunately, they're wild when it comes to this stuff, and it's just wild. Right. So basically, he argues that fans have said, well, we had Lando Calrissian and had Samuel L. Jackson playing characters.
And that was later. Well, excuse me, that was later for Samuel L. Like, yeah, we only had Lando for a good length of time.
Right, as the only black character in Star Wars on movie screens.
Right.
So that it's pretty wild that people would actually say that. Like, oh yeah, you got one.
Mm-hmm, right. Out of the whole movie. Or the whole trilogy of movies at that.
Goodness gracious.
And we're not talking about we're not counting that one dancer for Jabba the Hutt, because we only saw her like 2 seconds.
Right.
Before she got dealt with.
Right. And she was whatchamacallit, Twi'lek.
Right. So, but yeah, the man makes points. The man has made points, and he's just continues to make points. Next up, MTV's original Invincible animated series is impossible to watch today, but apparently some folks have found bits or runs of that show. So, and this article goes on to talk about, you know, the current Invincible series, and praising that. But apparently MTV tried to do an adaptation way back in 2008. According to this article, disappeared off the face of the earth. But let's see. MTV and Robert Kirkman made a motion comic. Because there were a bunch of those floating around at the time. Let's see, the cast included Patrick Cavanaugh as Mark, and a bunch of other people. I'm not even necessarily going to go into playing the other cards, and it was going to be released in 36 parts. Which, let's see, according to this article, unfortunately, despite trailers still being available online, the show is virtually unavailable. At least until netizens on some subreddit got on the case and not only found evidence of the show's existence, as it was once available to watch on iTunes, Xbox, and Amazon before Prime Video, they also just started posting entire episodes of the motion comic on, of course, TikTok. So, and the article then goes into talking about, you know, the show. The show then, and including key bits of the comic book, which apparently was taken out of the current version, but it still exists in that version of the adaptation. So I'm sure if you're interested in that, you can seek that out for yourselves. And I'm pretty sure TikTok is probably not the only place it's on at this point. So there you go. Next up.
Netflix's Devil May Cry debuts a new Evanescence single in a stunning music video. So this is an adaptation of a Capcom video game, and it follows the exploits of a demon hunter named Dante in his endeavor to exterminate all demons from the face of the earth. So this was a video game series created by Hideki Kamiya and developed by Capcom, going back to its roots in 2001. It's got the most recent release in the fifth game of, I guess, the franchise in 2019. Now Netflix is doing a new adaptation consisting of 8 episodes set to be released right around now, April 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
There is a collaboration with the rock group Evanescence, and let's see, they've debuted a music video to hype the premiere of the new Devil May Cry anime series. Okay.
Yeah, I watched the last trailer of this, and while I did not hear that particular Evanescence song, the music that they chose for that particular thing kind of gave me pause for watching this thing, and the direction that they were kind of going with this adaptation. Which, by the way, we are in Anime Corner at this point. I don't know. Maybe I still watch it, but I don't. I think they're doing too much. But next up, Sydney Sweeney is in final talks for Gundam movie at Legendary. Did y'all?
Oh, you said we were in Anime Corner? I thought
Yes.
this was a live action.
It's still, it's a Gundam. It's a live adaptation of a Gundam project.
Right.
Yeah. So it still technically counts. By the way, folks, did y'all not see Madam Web? No, stop. I can't put that on her.
Oh no.
I still haven't seen it, so I shouldn't say that either. But hey, you know. Let's see. Sweet Tooth showrunner Jim Mickle is set to write and direct a live-action film, which is co-developed between Legendary and Bandai Namco Filmworks. Mickle also serves as producer on the project with Linda Moran through their company Nightshade. So, yeah. Sydney Sweeney is circling this thing, and I guess whatever. We'll see how if it even gets off. Well, I mean, clearly they're doing it, but I have no hope for Hollywood doing a live action Gundam anything. So we'll see. Next up.
Let's see. 1 second. Now, at least I anticipated this being the actual start of Anime Corner.
Transmute!
let's see here. So, a few days ago marked the launch of a special project celebrating the 30th anniversary of Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, a series that first aired on Japanese television on April 7th, 1995, and made its North American TV debut in 2000. To commemorate the milestone, a 30th anniversary illustration was unveiled featuring the protagonists Hiro Yui and Relena Darlian dressed up in elegant attire. Additionally, the 30th anniversary special website has been launched, serving as a hub for the latest news and merchandise information related to the series, both in Japan and around the world. Okay.
I like how they went with Darlian and not Peacecraft, but fans of Gundam Wing know the deal on that situation. But yeah, I love Gundam Wing. 30 years old. Goddamn, I'm old. Goddamn, we're old. But yeah, I like Gundam Wing a whole lot. Enough to have the whole box set, which I'm not gonna pull out right now. Good stuff. You know, hey, I know it has detractors, but hey, it's a good series, I think, personally. That's all that matters. One of Gundam's best series, speaking of another great Gundam series, one of Gundam's best series is now free to watch. And this is Mobile Suit Gundam 8th MS Team. And it's a short one also, but it's also a really good show.
I've actually watched this one.
Yeah, that's right. You did say that. Yeah. Yeah. 8th MS Wing, I would probably put that over Gundam Wing, honestly. And I'm pretty sure I would not be alone in that situation. But yeah, so it's a series that takes place within the universe of the original storyline, but it's a different art style. I would say that because that's one of the other things that kind of made me attracted to that story. And as this article kind of says, it's kind of a guerrilla war style thing, but also a Romeo and Juliet style story, which of course, because it's anime. So, but you can check out, and I saw it on the YouTube channel before I saw this article, so that's how I knew about it. But Gundam Info's official YouTube channel has the series on there, and a few others actually that you can watch in full. So that's cool. So yeah, the official Gundam YouTube channel, you could check that out. Or there, I would imagine at this point they should have all of the series because like it's not that long. But next up, and the last in the anime corner.
Hold on, what do you mean the last one?
I just added one like a few minutes ago.
Hold on, because I have 2 stories left according to what I'm looking at. That's why I was.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. You're right. There is 2. Sorry.
Okay, so let me get this first one. Hulu's biggest new anime confirms its 2nd season. So this is The Medalist. The Medalist began airing earlier this year with 12 episodes following ice skaters who rely on one another to hit new heights. Let's see here. The Medalist official website has not only confirmed that the anime will return for a 2nd season, but has also released a new trailer to celebrate the occasion. Okay. Let's see here.
Proving there's an anime.
Well, it doesn't say when.
Right. Yeah. Proving there's an anime for everyone, folks.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual last story that we have for Anime Corner, Fire Force creator hypes season 3 with stunning character promos. I had to put this in here because, as Agent 70 pointed out before the show, Fire Force season 3 is upon us. It actually, as of we have turned we have crossed over into the 4th of April, and I believe that is when. Is it tomorrow? Yes. Will be April 4th when season 3 starts. Apparently, according to this article, the season will adapt the manga from chapter 175, beginning the Obi's rescue arc. Aside from this, the first core will at least cover the return to St. Raffles, Arthur's Adventures, Stone Pillars, and Asakusa Showdown arcs. Each arc will bring focus on a different character and the challenges they face while uncovering the dark truths behind Tokyo Empire's foundation and the White Clad's role in it. Obi's rescue arc will confirm that a major military organization is secretly working with the White Clad. Gasp. I have been waiting for Fire Force season 3 for the longest time, so much that I forgot to go and rewatch seasons either 2 and or 1 because I do love that show. That show's great. So maybe I'll do that before the next before the episode happens because it doesn't necessarily give a time, but I assume Crunchyroll's going to have it probably later on tonight. But yeah, and if you're watching the video version, you can see the sketches that the creator did of a couple of the main characters. Sadly, not Maki. But it will be streaming on Crunchyroll and Hulu. So, and apparently, oh yeah, no, you can watch the other stuff there. The first 2 seasons there. Next up, we get over to comic book news.
Alrighty. Alrighty, Alliance Entertainment boss talks about why they bought Diamond Comics. So yeah, this is news we spoke about. Alliance Entertainment boss Bruce Ogilvy talks about why they bought Diamond Comic Distributors and his plans for the direct market. So Bruce Ogilvy and his partner Jeff Walker bought Diamond Comics to diversify Alliance Entertainment's assets amid bankruptcy proceedings. As a public company, Ogilvy must value profitability over low margin, seeking change in how Diamond and suppliers price its comic book offerings. Alliance plans to retain Diamond staff and integrate inventory for increased operational efficiency, and Ogilvy emphasizes growth by learning the comic market and leveraging Alliance's public status for expansion. Okay.
We're not getting lower book prices, translation.
Right.
In fact, you can say with the tariff, we weren't going to get that anyway, but still. Yeah. NASA apparently deleted graphic novels about female astronauts from its website. So according to this article, now this is from I think this is a West Coast newspaper. Or whatever, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, NASA's purging all things related to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. You already know the lettering under the direction of the Trump administration. In its latest move, the space agency has reportedly deleted 2 graphic novels about fictional females astronauts from its website. The series includes the titles First Women, NASA's Promise for Humanity, and First Woman, Expanding Our Universe. The first follows female astronaut Commander Kelly Rodriguez exploring space as the first woman to walk on the moon. The second features a diverse crew of astronauts exploring the moon's surface. They were written by Brad Gann and Stephen List and illustrated by Brian Donahoe and Caitlin Reed. Hopefully they will be archived on through archive.org or someplace, because that's stupid, and a lot of stupid things have been going on lately in the U.S. here, so not surprising. Next up.
So Power Rangers Prime, I guess number 6, on sale at the end of this month from Boom Studios, is about to reveal the heartbreaking origin story of the franchise's new Blue Ranger. So we have a preview here of Power Rangers Prime number 6 from Boom Studios. Fans can catch their first glimpse of Mark Zhao's tragic early years on Aquitar. Okay.
Oh, interesting. Huh. Okay.
Right, I'm not going to go too much into it because it's a whole bunch of gibberish that describes a lot of Power Ranger stuff that might be like serious spoilers for people who are following this.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you're following this, but if you're following this, you probably already read it, so or going to read it,
yeah.
or going to read it when it comes out. Yeah, so but if you're keeping up with that book anyway, yeah, there's the spoilers in here you already know about, some of which. But next up, Jonah Hex is joining DC's Justice League, but apparently is not happy about it. So, apparently, Let's see. There was an official Superman panel at WonderCon. Let's see. Justice League Unlimited writer Mark Waid revealed that the heroes will be welcoming a new member in June 25th, Justice League Unlimited number 8. While details of his involvement are unknown, it fits in nicely with DC's marketing text for the issue and seems to position Jonah Hex as part of a cavalry in a time war between the League and longtime enemies, the Legion of Doom, which, spoiler alert, there's a reason the Legion of Doom is involved here, as we will find out, or that some may find out from the next, or one of the next stories. Next up.
Alrighty. Allow me a moment to catch up here. DC is reviving the Legion of Superheroes soon, says DC architect and former writer Mark Waid. No, not the Omega Legion. So the Legion of Superheroes, as we know it, has been gone from the pages of DC Comics for some time. But longtime fan and former writer of the group, Mark Waid, says a version of the team we'll all embrace is on their way back to us. Okay?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I know there are legions of Superheroes fans, but
I mean, there was an era of the Legion of Superheroes book that I read as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was reading New Teen Titans, I definitely, my dad picked up a couple of months worth of Legion of Superheroes in a row, and I read a few kind of key issues, and some of the art stood out because at the time George Perez was doing some of the covers also, so it was pretty fun to read.
Gotcha. Well, cool. Hey. This actually brings to mind something I will probably save for after the program about some DC related stuff. But next up, DC reveals the shocking identities of Inferno, and apparently comicbook.com has questions. So yeah, spoiler alert, folks. The identity of Inferno has to do with something I just mentioned a couple of issues back. I mean, a couple of articles back, as to who they are.
Mm-hmm.
As to why they are doing so, whatever they're doing, I mean, does it really matter? Because it is who they are, and I just want to see if the dome in the swamp happens again, or comes back out. Which now that that variant cover makes a whole lot of sense, a lot more sense. So, and if you watched and you just saw the video version, you saw who it was. So there you go.
Right.
Next up.
Right. And what's funny about that is this was all revealed in Justice League Unlimited number 5,
right,
which neither of us was able to actually read when it came out. I just caught up to this the other day, over the weekend.
Right.
So I definitely saw this.
Yeah.
All righty. Let's see. Marvel's longest-running Spider-Man writer, Dan Slott, says he berated some fans who questioned the death of Peter Parker in public. So this is at WonderCon 2025. Yeah, a lot of people... Listen, I'm mildly guilty of this because as soon as it happened, I think I said something to Dan Slott as he was walking very quickly past me on the floor of New York Comic Con.
Oh, no.
No, nothing crazy, but I'm sure people had crazy things to say.
Sure.
And, he basically revealed in a spotlight panel that he had an efficient way of handling repeated questions concerning Peter Parker's fate, and that he was instructed by Marvel editorial to tell any fan who asked him if Peter was going to come back to life that he was dead for good and he was never going to be resurrected. That's funny.
Yeah. It also says here that Slott remembers his interaction with Agent 7. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't say that.
Right.
I did not read that stuff until much later. So I kind of get the reaction, but also knowing that Peter was still around, it was like, okay, just calm it down. And so that's just the benefit of reading it after the fact, because sometimes I feel sorry for some of these writers when stuff like this happens.
Right.
With the exception of couple of people recently, but
Exactly. There's always a few that just kind of, that should have gotten the backlash.
right. Or not crazy backlash, but at least let some shit be known. Because we know people out there are stupid and crazy, and will threaten and do all kinds of stuff. We're not talking about that kind of stuff, but yeah, sometimes you gotta let folks know, like, that's not good. That's just not good. But next up, apparently Marvel goes official with Mary Jane Watson as the all new Venom.
Mm-hmm.
And a press release just released to the press. Okay, really? They could have cut some of that. Anyway, Marvel Comics has pulled the Band-Aid on just who the all-new Venom is, which, reading Concert of Champions today, I could have sworn there was something similar going on, or that was the case going on because of something that happened in that book. But that could have been an art choice. Anyway... let's see. Basically, they really want you to know that the new Venom host is Mary Jane Watson, something you might have read on some website that might be the one that you're seeing if you're watching the video version right now. And it's already getting a second printing. So, yeah. Doesn't she still have those other powers? The jackpot powers? So now she's... so now she's going to be Venom. I wasn't reading Venom anyway, but it's still.
I was about to say you gotta have a little bit of trust in Al Ewing because he's going to tell a solid story. Whether or not we agree with the choices, though, is another story.
Agreed, but I'm still not gonna read it. Like I love Al Green stuff, but I don't care for Venom, and that takes precedent. So I'm sure at some point I'll find out what the deal is once it gets to that point in the news article about it. But that's still, yeah, okay. Anyway, next up, Toy Corner.
Alrighty. Let's see here. So we have a new Star Wars Black Series and TVC reveals, including a Carson Teva, Landspeeder, and more. So yeah, there's some fan stream stuff that came out over the last couple of days. So we've got let's see here. The figures are live for pre-order. You get the Star Wars The Vintage Collection Carson Teva for $16.99. Pre-orders are up now if they're still available. I can't tell you. I'd have to look at these individual retailers, but good luck for all of you who are trying to get that. You can get Star Wars The Black Series SM33. Let's see here from Skeleton Crew. You can get Star Wars The Black Series Night Trooper. You can get Star Wars The Black Series Ezra Bridger, who's dressed like on the live action version from Peridia. And you get the Landspeeder vehicle. This is the vintage size, not the black series. You get the vintage collection Asajj Ventress. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The vintage collection Alexander Callus. Wow.
Ooh.
And you get the vintage collection Dengar, who a lot of people love because he had a cool look, but the character doesn't do all that much in the movies.
Did they?
What's that?
Did they have a cool look? Were people on
a lot of people I talked you know what it is? What I think is the bias comes from the role play. People who I knew who were playing the Star Wars role-playing games thought he had a cool look.
Because I don't recall anybody ever checked for Dengar like that. It was Boba Fett or Boba Fett.
Right, no, but that's where this particular recollection comes from.
Sure, okay, hey.
Not toy collectors, but specifically people who did the role play that I played in.
And you know what? Love role play. I love it for them. That's all I'm saying. That being said, hey, Asajj Ventress, which again might have come up in a book this week, like I might have intimated. Hey, I ain't mad at it. Might have to get that figure.
Right. There are also some Marvel Legends fan stream reveals. that came out this past week. So we'll probably have news stories about that next week.
Yeah. Also, going back to the beginning of this, happy for Paul's son Hyung Lee, because big. I know he's a big Star Wars fan, and to have his own figure. I think he actually hopes to present the figure. Actually, yeah, as it says here.
Yeah.
So and like I said, fans of Kim's Convenience also,
Oh.
Exactly. So I'm happy for dude. Actually, I might actually pick up that figure on principle. I don't know. But definitely the Ventress. Ezra can go kick rocks. The land speeder I remember using to have. This is a slightly different version of the. Well, I think it is definitely the same land speeder, but I feel like they might have added some touches here and there on this one, because I remember the original one didn't have the scars on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but still cool to have. Next up, though, Blade and Blade 2 Score is getting deluxe edition vinyl releases for the first time ever. So who's putting them out? Is it Mondo? Probably Mondo. Oh, well, this is a Barnes & Noble link. How dare. So let's see. The scores for Blade and Blade 2 are currently available to pre-order before they hit shelves on May 16th. You saw the glimpses of the Barnes & Noble link that I just put up if you're watching the video version. And it's an exclusive at Barnes & Noble. So there you go. And this is the scores, not the soundtrack. It's slightly different. But anyway, so yeah, there you go, folks. Next up, and lastly.
Alrighty, last but not least, new details on KMB, the Ghostbusters X TMNT mashup tribute toy, as a Kickstarter date has been announced. So this is a fan-based mashup that blends Ghostbusters and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles into one must-have soft vinyl toy, designed by SNZ Toys and promoted in collaboration with the Toys on Tap podcast. This is basically an 8-inch reimagining of the Dimension X villain, Krang, as a puffy marshmallow menace, and heading to Kickstarter, that is, next month. So SNZ Toys has confirmed that the campaign will launch on April 11th next week.
Mm-hmm. If you're watching the video version, you can see it. I'm just going to sit here and say is must-have is probably stretching it, but it's also a Ghostbusters fan news site, so you got to take it for what that is. The figure actually is not bad looking, but it's weird. It's a weird mashup. That would probably, I'm sure, be in some comic book somewhere at some time soon. Anywho, folks, that is it for the news section. We got one last ad read.
Our last ad read of the night is for helping us keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. If you shop at Amazon often, bookmark the link or add it as your homepage so that you can help the CSPN each time you order. We thank you for your support. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
Oh, interesting. All right, folks, that's it for this here show for tonight. We will be back next week. I'm sure we will have some more news about CinemaCon stuff, probably a little bit more WonderCon stuff. I don't know. But it is definitely con season, so we will definitely be getting some news somewhere leading up to San Diego, I'm sure. And I'm actually hoping something else is going to happen around that time, but we'll see. with that, I have been Radicat. You can find me at Radicat on Twitter. You can find me at Radicat on Blue Sky, News Nerds Need on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can also find me at CBCaps on Instagram. 8_7 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
Threads.
Still kicking, huh? Threads.
Yep.
Threads. Amazing. You can also find this show on the Cold Slither Podcast Network, the CSPN.US.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. And you can also find us recording every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on youtube.com/TheKliqNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show. Hit that notification button so you know when we're on live.
If you want to see some Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 with that new community mod played very badly, you might see that sometime soon. Who's to say? That's all I'm saying. And with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
I love it when a plan comes together.